She broke every rule to save a stranger in a faded army coat. Then 6 black SUVs rolled up, and the truth about who she saved shook the hospital to its core. Welcome to Tales of Kindness, where ordinary hearts spark extraordinary change. Here, we share true stories of compassion that ripple through lives, communities, and even the world. From a nurse defying protocol to save a mysterious veteran to small acts that ignite hope, every tale reminds us, kindness needs no reward, but it's never forgotten. Subscribe, hit like for the unsung heroes, and share your own spark of kindness in the comments. Let's fan the flame together. Emma Thompson, a 34-year-old seasoned nurse at Riverside General Hospital in Virginia, was recognized for 3 distinct traits: her auburn braid, the blue pen tucked into her scrubs, and her relentless commitment to her patients. Behind the nurses' desks, some colleagues murmured about her, overzealous, they'd say, or Saint Emma, with a hint of scorn. Yet patients asked for her specifically, touched by how she recalled their pets' names or steadied their hands through painful treatments. Emma lived alone in a small apartment. Just 10 minutes from the hospital, she had chosen nursing after tending to her mother during her losing fight with pancreatic cancer. "You have a healer's touch," her mother had whispered before passing. Those words grounded Emma through exhausting shifts and unappreciated hours. On Wednesday, the day began routinely. Emma had just charted a patient's stats when chaos broke out at the emergency entrance. An older man, maybe 60 to 65, stumbled through the glass doors, his worn army coat loose on his frail body. Blood stained his right sleeve, and sweat coated his pale face. His eyes flicked around, unfocused, confused. "Sir, you need to check in," the receptionist called. "Do you have ID or insurance?" The man fumbled with his good hand, but found nothing. "I'm sorry, without ID or insurance." Emma stepped forward before the sentence ended. "Sir, let me assist you," she said, leading him to a side room. "Sarah, page Dr. Coleman, please." Sarah, the receptionist, paused. "He hasn't been registered yet." "He's bleeding," Emma countered. "Let's stabilize him first, then handle forms." In the triage room, Emma eased the man onto a cot. His breathing was shallow, his skin cool and damp. The gash on his arm wasn't severe, but infection had taken hold. "Sir, what's your name?" Emma asked, grabbing supplies. "Joseph," he rasped. "Just Joseph." Emma summoned a doctor 3 times, but each time was told they were occupied with processed patients. Dr. Larson even passed by. He glanced inside and kept walking. The man's condition worsened. His pulse weakened. The infection demanded urgent care. Emma faced a choice between hospital rules and her vow to heal. She recalled her mother's frail gaze, how a palliative nurse had bent rules to ease her pain in her final hours. "Emma, you can't treat him," cautioned Rachel, a nurse who peeked in. "No doctor's orders, no action." Emma hesitated, then decided. She cleaned the wound, prepped antibiotics, and inserted an IV. Her 15 years of expertise guided her. Someone, likely Rachel, snapped photos. A doctor in the corridor shook his head and moved on. When Joseph stabilized, his gaze sharpened briefly. "Just a few hours," he murmured. "Then I'll leave. Thank you." Emma smiled softly. "You're safe here." At that moment, Margaret Hayes, the hospital's chief administrator, appeared in the doorway, her face tightening at the sight of the unapproved IV. "What are you doing?" she demanded, her voice sharp. "Nurses don't treat without orders. You've broken protocol." Emma held the bandage steady. "This patient needed care now," she said evenly. "That's not your call," Margaret snapped, her face flushing. "Security footage recorded it all. My office, immediately." As Emma was led out, Joseph gripped her arm with surprising force. "They'll come," he whispered. "Remember." She didn't grasp his words, but 15 minutes later, in Margaret's office with the hospital board, she realized her career was on the line. 15 years of service, Margaret said icily, wasted for ignoring basic rules. The footage played on a screen. Emma watched herself treating Joseph, defying policy, her actions laid bare in crisp clarity. If you've ever seen someone punished for doing what's right, stay tuned. While changing Joseph into a gown before heading to the office, Emma had noticed something. A faded hawk tattoo across his chest, the mark of an army ranger. More striking were the old shrapnel scars on his left arm, not recent, but relics of past conflicts. As she settled him on the cot, a news report about Syria flickered on the TV. Joseph's reaction was immediate. His heart rate surged, sweat glistened, and his eyes locked on the screen with raw intensity, far beyond a typical veteran's response. By noon, the fallout for Emma snowballed. She received a suspension notice, no pay, no patient access. Her badge was taken at the exit, a final sting as she carried her belongings in a paper bag to her car. In the parking lot, colleagues she'd known for years avoided her gaze. Only Claire, a first-year nurse, approached. "What you did was courageous," she said softly. "Or foolish," Emma replied with a weary smile. "Depends who you ask." At home, the damage spread. An anonymous post went viral. Edited footage of her treating Joseph, painting her as reckless. Comments stung. "Sack her! She's not a doctor. Who does she think she is?" Her brother called, voice heavy with concern. Not again. You always get burned for caring too much." "What could I do? Let him die." "There are rules, Em." It wasn't her first infraction. During the pandemic, she'd sneaked a tablet to a quarantined patient for a final family call. Last year, she stayed late to comfort a boy waiting for a psych bed. Each time, she'd been disciplined, but never suspended. As she hung up, Emma found something in her scrub pocket. A small, worn brass pin Joseph had slipped her before security came. "If anything happens, hold this," he'd whispered. "They'll know." "Who?" she'd asked. He only smiled faintly and closed his eyes. Under her desk lamp, Emma studied the pin, etched on the back. Carver, 1970. No branch, no number. Curious, she searched Carver Military 1970. Results were thin, but one stood out. Colonel William Carver, missing in action in 2003 during a covert Middle East mission, presumed dead after no contact for years. The blurry photo resembled a younger Joseph. "That's not possible," Emma whispered. The timeline didn't align. He'd be in his 70s, too old for active duty. Digging deeper, her laptop crashed. When it restarted, her search history was erased. Then her phone pinged with a text from an unknown number. "Do you know who you helped today?" Emma froze, peering out her window. A black sedan idled 100 meters away, engine humming. As she watched, it glided off into the dark. Sleep evaded her. The pin felt heavy on her nightstand. Morning brought worse news. A disciplinary hearing summons and a bank alert. Her account was frozen for unusual activity. She'd used her own card to buy supplies for Joseph when the hospital system blocked her. Social media turned vicious. Someone leaked her address and number. The nurse who defies the law trended locally. Former patients defended her, but the mob's voice was louder. By midday, Emma considered quitting nursing entirely. 15 years. And for what? To be vilified for saving a life? She was updating her resume for a non-medical job when her doorbell rang. A man in a crisp suit stood on her porch, his military posture unmistakable. Behind him, another black sedan waited. "Miss Thompson," he said, not asking, "your presence is required." "By whom?" Emma asked, her hand tightening around the pin. "By those who know what you did yesterday." He handed her a sealed envelope. Inside, a photo, Joseph, younger, beside a jet. On the back, Carver, 1970, Operation Nightfall. "Is he alive?" Emma asked. "Ma'am, come with us, and you'll have answers." As the sedan drove through unfamiliar roads, Emma realized her choice yesterday had ripple effects beyond hospital rules. She'd saved someone significant, someone whose existence was a guarded secret. The car stopped at a small airstrip where a private plane waited. Boarding, Emma wondered what kind of veteran warranted such secrecy, and why he'd ended up at her hospital. If an ordinary act of compassion can unravel hidden truths, keep watching. The next day, while Emma remained unreachable, Riverside General hummed with routine. Staff whispered about her absence at the hearing. Had she skipped town? Had a breakdown? Margaret Hayes, who'd suspended Emma, fielded calls from the hospital's legal team. The viral video sparked a PR crisis, dividing public opinion. Veterans groups planned a protest that evening, while medical experts debated protocol versus empathy on TV. This nurse ignored every rule. A hospital director argued on air, "Medicine demands structure." "Sometimes humanity trumps structure," a retired surgeon countered. "What's medicine without care?" Online, hashtags for and against Emma clashed. Journalists interviewed former patients who lauded her. Her empty apartment became a shrine for local veterans who left cards and candles. At the hospital, Margaret called a staff meeting. "We can't have nurses acting independently," she insisted. Emma's intentions were good, but her actions risked a patient and broke policy. A young resident spoke up. "With respect, ma'am, that patient was in crisis and denied care." "There are procedures," Margaret snapped. "This isn't a war zone." At 4:37 p.m., the mood shifted. Engines growled outside the main entrance. 6 black SUVs pulled up in formation, parking in a precise arc. Security hesitated as men and women in army dress uniforms stepped out, their movements sharp. Patients and staff crowded windows, tasks forgotten. "What's happening?" a nurse whispered. "Army," an aide replied. "Full dress." A commanding officer led the group inside, carrying a leather folder. The reception desk stilled as he approached. "I need Margaret Hayes and the board now." "Sir, do you have an appointment?" The receptionist stammered. He slid an ID across the counter. "Colonel Daniel Pierce, U.S. Army Intelligence. It's about Nurse Emma Thompson." The name sparked murmurs. Phones recorded. Someone tipped off the media. Within 30 minutes, news crews swarmed the lot. Colonel Pierce ignored questions, standing at ease, exuding authority. Margaret emerged from the elevator with board members and legal counsel, her confidence faltering at the sight of uniformed soldiers. "Colonel Pierce," she began, offering a hand, "this is unusual." "Miss Hayes," he cut in, ignoring her hand. "Yesterday at 10:45 a.m., one of your nurses saved a patient denied treatment for lacking ID. That patient was Colonel William Carver." Whispers spread. "You may not know the name," Pierce continued, "but to us, he's a critical asset, classified for over 15 years. He opened his folder, revealing sealed documents. Carver wasn't missing, as reported. He was on covert operations that protected countless lives. His death was staged to shield his mission." Margaret's face drained. "We couldn't have known." "Exactly," Pierce said sharply. "But Emma Thompson didn't need to know. She saw a person in need and acted with bravery and compassion. Qualities your hospital seems to lack." Staff crowded closer. Claire, the young nurse, recorded it all. Carver was concluding a mission with intelligence vital to troops in 2 regions. Had he died from that infection, decades of work would have been lost. Pierce faced the cameras. "Emma didn't just save a patient, she safeguarded national security in ways I can't fully reveal." He presented a document. "This orders your hospital to publicly apologize to Nurse Thompson, reinstate her with full pay and benefits, and drop all penalties." Margaret took the paper, hands shaking. "If this is about security, it's about humanity," Pierce interrupted. "Security just highlights her impact." A stir at the entrance turned heads. Emma walked in, flanked by 2 soldiers, her auburn braid neat. Behind her was Joseph, Colonel Carver, his arm bandaged in civilian clothes. Staff parted, stunned. Rachel, who'd photographed Emma, slipped to the back. "Emma," Margaret started, voice unsteady. "There was a misunderstanding." "Miss Hayes," Pierce cut in. "The U.S. government demands more than vague apologies. A public statement now." Under the soldiers' gaze and camera lenses, Margaret's composure cracked. "Nurse Thompson, on behalf of Riverside General, I deeply apologize for your unfair treatment. Your actions reflect the best of healthcare. We were wrong and ask you to return." Emma's face stayed calm. "I'll think about it." Carver stepped forward, his presence commanding despite his frailty. "This woman didn't just save me. She preserved intelligence that will protect hundreds. While your hospital dismissed me over forms, she saw a person. Isn't that medicine's core?" His words silenced the room. A week later, Emma stood in an unimaginable place, a secure DC facility. In a private ceremony with top officials, she received a Civilian Honor Award and a letter from the Secretary of the Army. The intelligence Carver delivered reshaped U.S. strategy in Central Asia, an official explained. Had he died, it would have been lost. After Carver, now in a plain suit, approached Emma. 15 years ago, I vanished for a mission. My family thought I was dead. My son grew up without me. He showed her a photo of his grown son and grandkids. I'm meeting them next month because of you. I just did what any nurse would, Emma said. No, Carver replied. Most follow orders. You followed your heart. That's rare. He hugged her gently, mindful of his arm. Thank you for letting me finish my work and tell my truth. Emma's reply was simple. I just did what was right, sir. Back at Riverside, everything had shifted. The story exploded. Nurse suspended for saving secret operative. The board named Emma head of emergency nursing for evenings. Former detractors now respected her warily. The blue pen in her pocket became a symbol for new nurses. Be like Emma. Focus on the patient, not just rules. The deepest change was in Emma. For years, she'd wondered if her mother's words about her healer's touch were just dying comfort. Now she knew healing meant standing firm, even alone. If you've seen someone vindicated beyond imagination, type courage if you believe doing right is always seen, sometimes in unexpected ways. Emma resumed work at Riverside, but not as the same nurse escorted out. As head evening nurse, she earned respect, not demanded. Colleagues who once gossiped now asked her advice. The pin rested in a frame on her desk, beside a note. Not all in scrubs follow rules. Some dare to do right. 3 months later, a package arrived, an essay by Carver's 10-year-old granddaughter whom he'd met. Titled, The Nurse Who Gave My Grandpa Back, it won a regional writing prize. The girl described their reunion, how her dad met his father, believed dead for years. She wrote of Carver's tears as he spoke of the nurse who helped when no one else would. Heroes don't always wear medals, she wrote. Some wear scrubs and carry blue pens. The essay hung in the emergency ward, reminding staff their work stretched beyond these walls. In her last TV interview, Emma faced the camera when asked what she'd tell nurses in tough spots. I didn't do anything special, she said. I just didn't turn away when someone needed me. That's all we can do. Keep looking when we can help. Carver's intelligence continued to save lives abroad, threats neutralized, all because a nurse chose care over rules. The news ended. Kindness needs no reward, but is never forgotten. One act can change a day, a life, or the world. The news segment's closing words lingered. One act of kindness can change the world. Emma Thompson's story didn't fade quietly. Her decision to save Colonel William Carver sparked a movement. Across Virginia, nurses shared stories of bending rules to prioritize patients, inspired by Emma's courage. Hashtags like Nurse Like Emma and Care Over Protocol trended for weeks, amplifying debates about healthcare's balance of humanity and bureaucracy. Riverside General, under pressure, revised its emergency protocols to allow faster triage for critical cases, even without ID. Emma, now head of evening emergency nursing, became a reluctant symbol. She avoided the spotlight, preferring her quiet routine, charting vitals, mentoring new nurses, and sipping tea at the corner diner before shifts. Yet her mailbox overflowed with letters from strangers, patients she'd helped, veterans moved by her story, even a paramedic who'd quit, but returned to the field because of her. One note, from a retired nurse in Ohio, read, "You reminded me why I started. Thank you for not looking away." Colonel Carver's life, meanwhile, was reshaping in softer ways. After decades in shadows, he embraced his rediscovered family. Emma received occasional updates through secure channels, a photo of Carver at his grandson's soccer game, another of him teaching his granddaughter to fish. Each came with a brief note, "Still here because of you." His intelligence continued to disrupt terrorist networks, saving lives across continents, though the details remained classified. Emma didn't need to know them. She'd done her part. "Zero at Riverside," the framed essay by Carver's granddaughter, hung prominently, but Emma added another touch, a small bulletin board in the break room titled "Moments That Matter." Nurses pinned stories of their own, staying late to sing to a dementia patient, sneaking a child's favorite toy into the ICU. Emma's blue pen, now a quiet legend, was passed to a shy new nurse, Tara, who'd hesitated to comfort a grieving family. "Use it," Emma said. "It's not about writing charts. It's about writing care into someone's story." 6 months later, Emma was invited to speak at a national nursing conference in D.C. She almost declined, uneasy with attention, but Claire, the young nurse who'd supported her, insisted, "They need to hear you, not the headlines." On stage, Emma spoke plainly. "I didn't save the world. I just saw a man who needed help. We all face those moments, when rules clash with what's right. Choose the patient. Always." The room, filled with thousands of nurses, stood in applause. For Emma, it was just another shift, another chance to heal. Back home, Emma found a package waiting. Inside was a worn journal sent by Carver. A note was tucked between its pages. "My thoughts from the field. You earned a piece of my story." The journal detailed fragments of his missions, coded names, desert nights, moments of doubt. One entry, dated the day he stumbled into Riverside, read, "Thought I'd die alone. Then an angel with a blue pen proved me wrong." Emma closed the journal, her eyes misty, and placed it beside the framed pin on her desk. The ripples of Emma's act reached beyond healthcare. A documentary, "The Nurse Who Dared," aired on public television, chronicling her story and sparking discussions in medical schools. Students debated ethics versus protocol, while professors used her case to teach compassionate decision-making. Veterans organizations honored her with a quiet dinner, where a Marine general shook her hand. "You didn't just save Carver," he said. "You reminded us what service means." Emma nodded, deflecting praise. "I just did my job." 1 year after the incident, Riverside General unveiled a new training program, the Thompson Standard, emphasizing empathy in emergencies. Emma, though embarrassed by the name, helped design it, ensuring nurses learned to trust their instincts when lives were at stake. The hospital's PR crisis had transformed into a badge of reform, with patient satisfaction scores climbing. Margaret Hayes, the administrator, softened her stance, privately thanking Emma. "I was wrong," she admitted. "You showed us what we'd forgotten." Late one evening, as Emma finished a shift, a familiar face appeared at the emergency desk, Carver. Healthier now, his eyes clear. He carried a small wooden box. "For you," he said, opening it to reveal a silver nurse's pin, engraved with 1970-2025. "From my old unit," he explained. "We give these to those who serve beyond duty. You're one of us now." Emma, rarely speechless, managed a quiet, "Thank you, sir." They shared a coffee in the hospital cafeteria, swapping stories like old friends. As Carver left, he paused. "You know, I was trained to disappear, but you made me visible again, not just to my family, but to myself." Emma smiled, her auburn braid catching the light. "And you reminded me why I wear these scrubs. They parted with a promise to stay in touch, though both knew their bond needed no words. The silver pin joined the blue one in her pocket, twin symbols of a moment that changed everything. The story of Emma and Carver became a touchstone, retold in nursing schools, veterans' halls, and quiet diner conversations. It wasn't about fame or glory, but about the power of one choice: to see, to act, to care. As Emma locked her office that night, she glanced at the bulletin board, now overflowing with pinned stories. She added one of her own. "Tonight, a patient smiled because I listened." That's enough. If you've ever seen kindness spark a revolution, type heart to honor those who choose compassion over caution. Across the country, Emma's story inspired small, brave acts. A doctor in Oregon waived fees for an uninsured mother. A paramedic in Texas stayed with a scared teen after a car crash. Each echoed Emma's refusal to look away. The world didn't change overnight, but in countless corners it grew kinder. The news segment's final frame lingered on Emma's desk. The journal, the pins, the note. Thanks for watching. Kindly subscribe to our channel for more amazing kindness stories.